Yesterday, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security had a quote that a lot of people immediately thought brought to mind sci-fi movies like Minority Report. I want to show you this. Chad Wolf being asked about the fact that his mostly anonymous camoed soldiers that have been deployed to Portland and soon coming to other cities are just snatching people off the streets.
Anytime that you attack a federal facility, such as a courthouse there in Portland, that is a federal crime. Attacking federal police officers, law enforcement officers, which they have done for 52 nights in a row, is a federal crime. And so the department, because we don't have that local support, that local law enforcement support, we are having to go out and proactively arrest individuals. And we need to do that because we need to hold them accountable. This idea that they can attack federal property and law enforcement officers and go to the other side of the street and say, you can't touch me, is ridiculous.
So, yeah, a lot of people thought that having this person who has an incredible amount of apparently unchecked and uncheckable power to brutalize people around the country, saying that they're going to do proactive arrests, that is not how our system is supposed to work. Do you think that he just misspoke?
No. There's like people at this level, and you just mentioned speaking off the cuff because we're doing this show, and you know the term you used, Warren, versus the actual reality of the situation. It comes in speaking. People at this level, when you're on TV and you have a policy and you're implementing this thing where you're carrying out in the cities, you don't misspeak on something like that. You're saying what your policy is. And it tracks because he also said, I don't care what governors and mayors of cities have to say. We're going to come in and do what we want in your cities and in your states. That wasn't misspeaking either. That's what his policy is. Mm-hmm. His policy is also this, that he didn't use the word preemptively, proactively start arresting people. Okay. I've seen many posts from police officers in Facebook groups saying what they want to do to citizens and the violent acts they're going to do to them, which are quite illegal. Are we going to proactively start arresting these officers that we've seen saying these things? Because that's a crime. They're planning it. They said they're willing to do it. I think to protect the citizens, we need to start arresting these cops every time we see them say something that's illegal, some kind of action that they want to do that's illegal on a Facebook page. Hey, what if they're caught on body cam saying they're going to do something to these guys? Or, hey, we're going to, we've seen them talk about what they're going to do to people and laugh and joke about it. Pretty illegal, I think, to assault protesters that aren't doing anything to you. Are we going to start arresting them before they do it?
Yeah.
No, but we can do it to citizens because we were trying to protect. I'm not sure which facilities we're talking about protecting here. Outside of
some statue or
election
building. Yeah, they can, and they do. And that's the thing where, like, the reason this quote really struck people is not because, oh, we got him because he said it. No, they've already done it. We have the footage of them just rolling up on people, grabbing people. There's nothing going on. There's no protest. There's no riot or anything like that. They grab people, they put them in the truck, and they drive them off. That is a proactive arrest. I don't care if he finesses his language later on. That's what it is. And people are rightfully horrified. I want to show you a video from Portland. This is from just last night, by the way. This was Joshua Potash on Twitter had this. Take a look at this, and you tell me if this is what the relationship between the U.S. military is supposed to be with American citizens who are protesting.
Watch behind you, behind you, behind you, behind you, come on, get. Watch out, watch out. Right there, look at that. Hey, that's the class.
Yeah, if I had told you that was footage taken on, the streets of an Iraqi city back during the surge, you would have believed it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally needless. And when we have these concerns, when we express them, as we have been for some time, they respond by saying, like Chad Wolf saying, our federal agents will not retreat. What do you mean retreat?
Retreat.
This isn't the Battle of the Bulge. What are you talking about? We're saying stop kidnapping people, stop brutalizing people. You're not in a battle. I need him to confirm that he knows that this is not a battle that he's involved in. That they're supposed to be guarding statues.
He can't confirm that because that's not what he believes. He does believe it's a battle. They're amped about this battle. They put these guys in military fatigues. Think about it. They got them in camo. What's camo for? They got like desert camo on, at least from some of the ones that ran up and snatched people and threw them into vans. They got desert camo on. Camouflage is to blend in with the surroundings so you can't be detected as well. What part about the city of Portland has desert and sand all over the place where you have to blend in with the background to make sure that the enemy residents of Portland don't notice you coming? No, this is an intimidation look. You walk in there with your big guns and your camo, and people have this respect for the military, and that's what you're posing as. Because people go, oh man, I guess I can't do anything about this because I don't know who they are, but they look like military. So I guess I got to go with it. There's this other crime called impersonating a police officer, but I'm not sure about impersonating a military guy with long guns and walking up and taking people and snatching them. But if it's backed by the federal government, anything's legal.
You're 100% right. It's just intimidation. I've been thinking that same thing since the first days of that footage coming out in Portland. It's like, you're not in the desert. Like, I can see you. You're right there. In fact, I can see you easier because you're the only thing I see that's desert.
Yep.
And the rest isn't desert. No, it's just they put on the helmets and they wield the weapons. It's to scare people off. It is to terrorize people. And not even specifically to terrorize the people that are there. Yes, to do that. But to send out a signal to the country that this is all really scary. And it's those terrorists that are protesting that are causing all these problems. So vote for Trump because he's the guy's protecting you because he's put soldiers in the streets. And it turns out that even some of the soldiers don't like it. The Department of Homeland Security's response to anti-police brutality protests in Portland has disturbed and angered many employees who call the deployment of the federal force an unusual maneuver that could do long-term damage to the agency's reputation. Do you think they see months of cops brutalizing people and the country turns against those cops? Do you want to be the troops that then get lumped in with that? But they are now. They're there and they're serving.
Yep.
And they're
you know what this does?
People.
The way that Trump characterized this action in Portland when he was saying he's going to send it to other cities was, look what happened in Portland. We sent them in and they're handling that and it's beautiful. Nothing about this is beautiful. But if you want to excite the president, then some people who look like military and start attacking American citizens, he gets amped up on that. That satisfies him. We already know the approach for many people surrounding this president is to satisfy all of his ridiculous needs and fill his stomach with any kind of courage that he lacks. So he can bounce off this and say, that's my military going there and assaulting citizens. That makes me feel good. I'm a stronger person now.
Yeah. And what I don't get about all the talk about not retreating and how they're going to send these troops to other places and like it's just his violence, we just have to fight back against his violence, is there's no acknowledgement months into these protests now that maybe anything should change. The military situation will change. They'll change that. But nothing, there's no, like Chad Wolf will do 100 interviews and he'll never say, well, I heard a couple of their points and I think there might actually be something to that. It is just a movement to be crushed, despite the fact that a new poll shows 94% of Americans back criminal justice reform. That's not enough. Months of protests and 94% of the American public is not enough to have our leaders acknowledge that maybe anything at all should change. Now, when you break it down, Black Americans are much more likely than whites to want major police reform, just under 90%. However, a slight majority of white Americans did agree major police reform was needed. So that's when you break it down to how big should the reform be. Even white Americans, a majority say, yes, major reform needs to be implemented. But the issue is that when you break it down another way, you see that only 14% of Republicans said major reform is needed, compared to nearly 90% of Democrats and 60% of independent voters. I mean, look, even most Republicans say that minor changes need to be made, but they certainly don't want massive change. And that appears to be enough for them to say, rather than giving an inch and actually hearing people out and providing some justice, we will crush people in the streets of an ever-increasing number of American cities week after week, month after month. And we don't care. We don't care what happens to them.
Straight up. That's the way they want to see it. And this is a campaign issue. As we've seen, he's making it very partisan. He's talking about how he's going to these blue cities and these weak Democrat-controlled cities and states. If you've gone there immediately, he's pulling out every way he can and all these different policies, different approaches, from his singular now COVID response briefings to these things happen in Portland to then spreading it to other cities. This is all his plan for re-election because he thinks this is going to work. This is what's worked from before. Just a strong arm, a-hole leader who's going to run around and start taking people and throw them in the cars, but he thinks that's going to work. He wants to spread it. That's what he thinks his base wants. We're going to find out.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.